Welcome to Cryptic Curiosity. We're your hosts,
Amber
and JoJo. Today's episode is going to be a sensitive topic. Viewer discretion advised. Mothers who do the unthinkable.
While I was watching YouTube videos, I ran across a story about a little boy, Ricky Nee, who died when he was 6 years old. Well, Ricky's story actually starts back with his mother, Ruth, that she didn't have a very good upbringing as well. She was pretty much taken away from her parents when she was about 4 years old and grew up in foster care. Parents made an arrangement to opt out from interviews with her daughter. When she was about 24 years old, they actually succeeded in their pact, but she was taken away very young. Ruth aged out of England's version of the foster care system and married Ricky's father. She had 2 children, and when she aged out of the foster care system, she was labeled as not showing empathy and having cruel tendencies. So her first husband can't deal with her, and she's extremely abusive to him, extremely abusive to the children. He leaves. She immediately marries her second, changes Ricky's name and the other children's name to Neve, which is her second husband's name. She has 2 more children, and the description of how Ruth treats her children is horrific. To teach her a daughter a lesson on not to touch matches, she burns her hand with a cigarette.
Oh my God.
Her daughter that has an interview on YouTube described that 2 years old, she can remember her mother burning her in the face with a cigarette. Ruth was seen abusing her children. They were taken away multiple times and given back. When Ricky died at 6 years old, her oldest daughter was never going to be returned back to her home. She had been watched pretty much her children's whole life. They knew that she used her children to do things like sell drugs. The little boy was described as a sad little messenger of misery, is what a neighbor described him. And always bruised, always beaten up, and one day they find him in the woods. A coat had been used to end Ricky's life. There were zipper marks that were left for them to know that. So immediately, everybody automatically assumed it was Ruth that did it. I mean, everybody knew she beat her kids and she was pretty much a horrible, despicable person. And police zeroed in on her, and there was a trial where Ruth was found not guilty. From what I understand, there was a police officer's testimony that he could verify that she was actually with him.
That was not guilty of what? The murder? Or the murder. Okay.
At the time of Ricky's death, she was either seen by a police officer or with a police officer. So she does get prison time for abuse, and her children were taken away from her, never to be returned to her again. She does time for the abuse of her children, but as soon as she gets out, she starts saying that she was pretty much coerced into admitting that she beat her kids and that she did these horrific things, and she really didn't do any of it, and there's a murderer out there that killed her son. The whole time while Ricky was alive, there was somebody else that the police should have been looking at. There was a 13-year-old boy who was known in the neighborhood of being inappropriate with children. He'd been caught with inappropriate images and things like that, where they knew that there was something not right with this kid. This boy, his name is James Watson, actually goes home and tells his mother, or asks his mother, if she's heard anything on the news about a baby being found. And she's like, no. And he's very, very interested in what's going on with Ricky's case. He's involving himself where normal 13-year-old boys really wouldn't be paying attention to it, collecting newspaper articles. There was a witness that seen James and Ricky together walking off. Police didn't At the time, there really wasn't the capabilities to investigate forensically like we do now.
Yeah.
So it went cold. James Kidd, he was questioned, but not anything like deeply, just asked, have you seen the kid? Whatever. But years later go on, and just as in a normal reviewing of the case that most police departments will pull up whole cases and see, okay, now do we have the technology to test this forensics? And they found a match for the DNA that was found in these clothes, and it matched James Swett's. Well, they went to go question him, and you can watch the video where they go and arrest him, and it is chilling. He has there's no reaction. He can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and make him coffee. He has completely no reaction whatsoever to. It's just a normal day. Well, he ends up escaping to, I do believe it was Poland. Something goes on with his sister. They end up expediting him back, and he's tried for Ricky's death. And he's convicted. He gets 15 years to life. Hopefully, he never gets out. It's terrifying that he was 13 at the time that he ended Ricky's life, that he showed, lived in society like nothing ever happened. And honestly, who knows what else he's done? He never admitted doing anything,
Right.
never spoken about anything. Just from the interview with the sister, with Ricky's sister, she pretty much she said it looked like the James Watson show. Like he was just all into himself, like happy he was on TV and like he wasn't being tried for murder. He was only recently sentenced for this case that Ricky died in, I do believe it was 1994. Talk about kind of the system failed Ruth from the start of her life to currently. Not to give her a pass in any way, because she definitely is not Mother of the Year by any means, what she did to her children. But nobody ever did anything to help her. Like, they knew when she was young that there was something off with her. And she was a ward of the state. Wasn't it their responsibility, or a ward of the crown? Wasn't it
You
their
would think it would be. Make sure, especially if they were suspicious
and
that she needed help.
You can see pictures of their house, or like their apartment. They lived in like a project type situation, but like would not ever pass like CPS standards that I've ever heard of. The rooms smelled like urine, and most of the beds didn't have mattresses, and like normally like simple rules, like not even keeping a bed for your kids to sleep in, or not have them sleep in pee. And they knew this, and nobody did anything. I mean, no, she wasn't responsible for the actual act that ended Ricky's life, but she sure as hell contributed to it by her 6-year-old wandering around the streets.
Exactly.
That's your responsibility, to keep your children safe. And at 6 years old, why is any 6-year-old child outside by themselves?
Right. I still don't like it when my kids go outside, and they're getting older, and I'm like, I don't trust people.
Mine's fairly young, so even the idea of him like opening the door by himself terrifies me. But not only did nobody step in and take those kids out of that situation permanently, like they take them away and then give them back, and take them away and then give them back.
Yeah, why would they give them back? That's what I don't understand. They clearly see there's an issue if they take them away. Why are they returning them to this very same environment that they took them out of?
The explanation that I watched from the judge was that keeping the family unit together is always the main objective.
Right.
At what point is it detrimental to the child? At what point, I mean, every time you see this boy, he's covered in bruises, and she's coming up with cock and bull stories about, oh, he fell off the bed, or how the hell did he fall off the bed? There ain't no mattress on there, so he wasn't up there sleeping.
Exactly.
Like, there wasn't no follow-up, just accepting whatever she said, and okay, here's your kids back.
This seems to happen far too much.
This didn't happen in the United States, but there is a whole lot of high-profile cases like that. almost mirrored exactly that in the United States, where it's the same situation. CPS has been involved either from day one of those children being born or even in their parents' lives before they were. If it's a normal parenting situation, it's still your responsibility to follow up on your kids, even if they're adult, but the
Right.
state doesn't have to. From what I know about the foster care system is, at least here, when you age out, you pretty much get $200 a slap on the back. Good luck. You better hope that whatever foster family you didn't adopt you, but is still willing to help you out, because otherwise you're.
Yeah, and there's been cases also where children get removed from a place and then put into the foster system, and then their foster parents do worse to them than what their actual parents did.
Yeah, there's lots of that. Or resources are spent where there's no reason for the children to be taken at all.
Yeah, it's like they go to the extreme. They take children that don't need to be taken, and then the ones that desperately need help, and you can obviously see that they're just like, oh. Now they say that they're overworked and all that, and they may be, but still, when you see physical signs of, being bruised up all the time. Now kids do get bruises, but like you can tell when they're not just a regular bruise, especially if he always has them. And they're just like, oh well. I don't get that.
And especially, like, I mean, government housing isn't built all that well. Neighbors were hearing what she was doing. There was a report of her holding this little boy upside down on a bridge and screaming.
Holy shit.
Other people seen that.
People seen that and didn't say anything.
There was one report that news article I was reading where a police officer seen her abuse him in public in front of him, and he did nothing. I mean, there's a pop on the butt, and what she was doing to her children wasn't.
Right. There's
And
definitely a big difference.
and it wasn't like a snap fit of rage. Like you hear like postpartum depression women will snap, do things that they really don't need to do. It wasn't that. She enjoyed doing these things to the kids. Two of her daughters are adults. One of them, like I said, there is an interview you can watch on YouTube. I don't understand how a mother could do that.
Me either. There's no way. And I know some people have, they suffer with mental issues, but like, you'll know if you're not feeling right. Like, you would think that if you were feeling things like that you would want to seek help so you didn't.
I don't even think
harm anyone.
Mental issues as an excuse. I mean,
no,
she was a drug addict. She wasn't taught herself how to be a parent because she really didn't have parents that loved her.
Right.
I get that. Like her daughter says in the interview, her daughter's a mother as well. And those horrible things happened to her, but she would never want to do that to her child because she knows how that feels. So there's no pass whatsoever given. I mean, if her own child can survive what she did to her
and not become that,
then you have no excuse. You made the choice not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. I'm glad that the person that took that little boy's life is hopefully will serve the life sentence, because that's horrible and it's frightening that he was 13 years old when he did it.
I can't believe they didn't. Well, I mean, I guess I can because the technology now is much better than back then. But man, to get away with it for that long, like he could have harmed other people
and other
that
children
whole time up until
He obviously had a fixation on children inappropriately. So what's terrifying is he has a child himself.
Oh man.
That how many other kids has he hurt? And nobody seems to be bringing that. Somebody needs to be trying to make him talk.
Right.
if he was capable at 13 years old.
And then thought he got away with it?
Yeah. And
He probably did.
his excuse for how Ricky, or how his DNA got on Ricky, was lifting him up to see over a fence. Look back at some old videotape, and there was no fence there when the little boy died. So, like, how do you repair the family? How do you repair her daughter for all of that that's been done? There's no way possible.
No, I don't know how you could repair that.
I mean, ultimately, I think that it's most definitely the state, or since it's England, the crown. They have some culpability as well of this little boy, because if it wasn't the creepy neighbor, it would have been his mother.
So he just lured him away from his yard? Is that what happened?
He lived in a group home in this projects. Like, since it's a different country, we don't really have anything that compares, but the pictures of it, like I said, there's nothing here that there's not a comparison I could give you where you would know what I'm talking about. But pretty much kind of think of an apartment complex, but way more ran down, and everybody that's core lives there pretty much. And so it's not, nobody that lives there is doing okay. They're either drug issues or running from the law issues or whatever. James lived in like a group home there, and Ricky was found only about 500 feet away from where he lived. So it's like a wooded area behind a group of apartments. There's pictures where you can see that, and this is something else that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They searched the wooded area, but like there was like a little bridge area, and they didn't look down. If they would have looked down, they would have found it. Like, they lived in the woods, but they didn't look down over this little bridge area where the little boy actually was.
If it was an area like that, like, that's more of a reason to not let your child go out when they're that small.
She was locking him outside at like 3 years old. No.
Yeah, see. No,
I have a 2-year-old who is almost 3, and it is inconceivable to me for him to be in any area not super, because he does weird stuff. So
I don't let my 8-year-old outside unless an adult is with him. I mean, we live on a busy street too, but just...
Well, hopefully the little guy can rest now that they actually put the proper person behind bars, and hopefully his family gets some healing out of at least that.
Right.
I kind of hope that Ruth rots in hell will most definitely the most responsible, other than the person that actually took his...
Is she's still imprisoned or no?
She's out now. She's remarried, and she's doing documentaries, and she's this poor hurt, taking advantage of women that never did that to her children. Her daughters were brainwashed and this other stuff. And no, that's not what. It's a poor me act for sure that she's pulling in the media.
Don't they always?
I don't have any remorse or sympathy for her.
No.
I don't understand how you can share a body with somebody and hate it or hate them. I don't understand.
I would definitely love to get in the minds of people that can do these heinous things. As if they're doing nothing.
I understand fits of rage and, that resulting in something going too far. I understand that being put in an overly stressful situation, like seeing your child being abused, that's going to make you have a psychotic break to where you're capable of taking away.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is knowing. I mean, a cigarette into a child's hand, that's going to hurt.
Yeah,
but doing it anyway.
I don't think I've ever burnt myself. Well, I'm sure I probably have with a cigarette. It cannot feel good. I can't believe that anybody could do that.
As a lesson not to play with matches. That was the rationale.
Well, this mother, Megan Huntsman, have you ever heard of her?
No, I haven't.
She was born February 27th, 1975, in Salt Lake City, Utah. She was the oldest child to her parents, and they were said to be like a middle-class family and were of the Mormon faith. And people that knew Megan said that she was always a very private person, like really private, like kept everything to herself, and that will be important here in a minute. And as an adult, that trait did not go away. She is still a very private person. In high school, Megan became close with a boy named Darren West, and she was a little bit younger than him. I don't know exactly by how much. They did go to school together, but he ended up graduating before her. When she graduated, he was in college, and as soon as Megan graduated, he proposed to her. And in April 1993, they got married. And Megan was keeping a secret from Darren and from everybody that she was pregnant. She was able to keep the secret for her entire pregnancy. And she did not tell the father until she was 9 months pregnant. Like, she was literally about to give birth any day. And then this is when she decides to let Darren know that she's pregnant. That right there, like, what?
Now, I'm a big girl, and I couldn't hide that I was pregnant. I mean, you knew, even though I was already a big girl, you knew that I was pregnant, so...
I don't know how she hid it. I don't know if maybe she just wore really baggy clothes, or maybe...
But you walk differently.
Doesn't show very much. I don't know. The fact that her husband had no clue is baffling to me, but it gets worse. It gets worse. So she ended up giving birth to a baby girl at home all by herself. She did not get any kind of care from a doctor or hospital. She did it all on her own. And then Megan and Darren ended up moving into a home that Darren's parents provided for them, said that they could live there, so they had a place to raise their family. And Megan had gotten a job as a cleaner and a babysitter of all things, which you will see is quite disturbing. And Darren was working in construction. And not long after that, Megan becomes pregnant again. And again, she tells no one. And this time, she did not tell Darren that she was pregnant until after she gave birth to another baby girl. So he supposedly did not even know she was pregnant, and she just goes in the bathroom, gives birth, and comes out and is like, hey.
What year is this again?
1993 was when they got married. I'm not sure. It says like right after that she had got pregnant, so.
This isn't like 1950s where people minded their own affairs or like people didn't talk about it. She knew about the birds and the bees. Okay.
Yeah. Now, when the children were around the age 2 and 3, Megan and Darren both became hooked on meth. And because of that addiction, they ended up losing their jobs. And so Darren decided to start manufacturing meth himself.
As you do.
Right? From using meth, Megan began to suffer with anxiety, depression, and paranoia. And some people were a little bit suspicious and thought that she was being abused because they had seen her with black eyes. But that's not been proven, so that's just an assumption that someone...
And I know you've seen those faces of meth things that they used to go around Facebook all the time. Used to show you the progression, like what they looked like before they did the drug, like
right.
And that takes you to you go on a path and not pretty, that's for sure.
Yeah, it completely changed the way that she looked. And in 1996, Megan becomes pregnant again. And surprise, she tells no one. And this time, she doesn't tell anyone at all. She doesn't end up telling Darren. She tells no one. So she goes into the bathroom and gives birth by herself. And after giving... What? Go ahead.
Does he just, like, come home from work and, like, oh, there's another kid?
The only thing I can think is maybe they were so messed up on drugs that he literally paid no attention and just wasn't there, you know, mentally. I have no idea. I don't know how anybody couldn't hear it. Like, that really boggles my mind. But she ends up going in the bathroom, she gives birth, and then she decides she doesn't want another baby. So she puts her thumbs on the baby's neck and presses down until the baby is no longer breathing. Then she wraps the baby in a towel and then in a trash bag and puts tape around the bag and then puts it in a box and takes it down to the garage and hides it. And then goes back in, cleans up her mess, and goes back to normal like nothing happened. And not long after that, she becomes pregnant again. And again, does not tell anyone, and gives birth by herself and does the same thing to this baby as the one before, and she takes it to the garage and hides it where the other one is. Between the ages of 21 to 31, she became pregnant over and over and did the same thing to the other babies, except for one, which was a stillborn, which she probably wouldn't have. I mean, that's me assuming, but if it hadn't been stillborn, she probably would have done something to it.
She's got, what, 3 living?
Right now, 2.
2 living?
Mm-hmm. And one time that she gave birth, one of these situations, there were actually people in her home. Her husband and her husband's brother, and then his brother's wife were there one time, and then Megan said she wasn't feeling well, and then she went to go take a bath and go to bed. And nobody heard her giving birth to a baby and then murdering it. I have no idea how nobody heard this.
In my recollection of giving birth, as soon as your water breaks, shit gets real. Like,
yeah, it is really painful. I can't figure out how she did this stuff silently. But, like, see, her taking her being a private person, like, she takes it to the next level. Like, she doesn't tell anybody anything.
I mean, I have heard of those women that do not feel pain at all in labor, which possibly maybe that was the situation that, well, obviously there's something off with her if she could take her brand new newborn baby and end its life. That's just...
Yeah, she just...
And repeatedly. I mean, I understand religious beliefs coming in on, like, birth control and stuff like that, but really, using the depot shot is worse than suffocating children?
Exactly. And I guess it said that there was a couple times that Darren figured out that she was pregnant, but she told him that she had a miscarriage.
And again, I understand religious beliefs that not everybody's marriage is the same and stuff like that, but you and I are both married. And, I mean, her husband never came in when she was taking a shower and, you know, seen her pregnant or...
That's what I'm just like...
When you're married, you know, certain personal space boundaries just go away.
I just don't understand. And she has 2 children that are in the home, you know. They were small, but still, you'd think they would...
Did they say anything like how she was a mother to them? Was she good to the ones that she didn't kill?
It seems that she was good to the ones that were there. There was never any abuse or mistreatment of those children reported. Let's see, the year 2000, Megan did end up keeping one more of the babies, and that the only reason that she kept that baby is because people found out that she was pregnant that time. She couldn't hide it. So she kind of had no choice but to keep it. So Megan and Darren now had 3 daughters. But over the next 6 years, Megan would give birth several more times and murder all of the babies and put them all in boxes in the garage. In 2006, Darren got arrested, and the DEA had come to search the house because, remember, he was making and dealing meth. And Megan, of course, was freaking out because she thought that they were going to find the babies. But somehow, they did not find the babies. So I don't know, like, how deep of a search that they were doing, but they didn't find the babies. And Darren was sent to prison. He was sentenced for 12 years for manufacturing and dealing meth. And then when Darren was in prison, Megan kind of started going back to normal. She stopped using meth because, of course, it was harder for her to get it because Darren was the one that was making it. So she stopped meth, and I think it said that she abused alcohol. The house that they were living in, remember, was Darren's parents let them stay there. But they told her she could stay in the house as long as she remained faithful to Darren. But I guess that lasted for maybe, I think it's 5 years. Because 5 years later, she started seeing another man. And eventually Darren's parents found out. So they ended up kicking Megan out. They let the daughters stay, the girls, they let them stay with Darren's sister in that house. So the children wouldn't have to leave. But Megan had to go. And I guess that whole situation worked out really good for the next 2 years. Megan was allowed to see the children and, things were working out well. But then Megan falls pregnant again. And then but she tells her boyfriend about the baby this time, and then later said that she had a miscarriage, which I don't know how true that is, because with her track record, she could have, because she said, I guess in one of the interviews, that she lost count of how many babies that she killed, because she said that there should have been like 8 or 9, but there wasn't. That was found anyways. And in 2014, Darren is released from prison. He got out, I think he served like 8 years, and then he was released. So he returned to the house with his daughters, and he decided to do like a full-on spring cleaning thing, like getting rid of a bunch of stuff. And he gets to the garage and is cleaning everything out of the garage, and then he finally gets to the boxes, because I guess they were like, stuffed in the back of the garage with like holiday decorations and stuff like that. So he finally gets to the boxes, and then he's wondering what in the hell is in the box, and he opens it to find a baby, deceased. So he right away calls the police, and then after he calls the cops, he calls Megan and is asking her what the hell is going on, what is this? And so Megan tells him that she panicked and she had a stillborn and she didn't know what to do. The police end up going to where Megan is staying with her boyfriend, and they arrest Megan. And during the interview with the police, Megan confesses to murdering a number of babies, so many that she lost count. 6 of the babies were found to be suffocated, and one baby even had a hair tie around its neck. She said she didn't think she could care for them because of her addiction to meth. She was charged with 6 counts of murder and was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. I think maybe she might have the possibility of parole like after 30 years. You know what the kicker is here? Utah has the safe haven law that allows anyone to take a baby to the hospital anonymously. So she could have taken all of those babies to the hospital and nobody would have ever asked her any questions. They would have just taken the baby, made sure the babies were okay, and then they would have been immediately put up for adoption.
In Michigan, we have a baby box, and it sounds really weird, but you can come anonymously and put a baby in there and leave it, and it locks back. The box locks and it sounds an alarm, and a police officer, paramedic, I would even assume fireman or firefighter would come and take the baby and they put it up for adoption. So there's all kinds of options once that baby is born. Even if you went to the hospital and had the baby, you can walk out and no questions asked in many states.
Mm-hmm. She had several options. A good option would have been birth control.
Yeah, the Depo shot would have done wonders there.
To do it one time, is even bad enough. But you could say that she had postpartum depression or something like that. Because, I'm sure the meth played a lot into that, because she was on meth for 10 years. So surely that would have done something. but still, that maybe like a one-time thing. To do it that many times in a row, she knew exactly what she was doing, and there were other ways to go about that. Like, I cannot understand.
Not to mention, can you imagine what that did to her husband when he found all of his dead children?
I know. And they were all his. He was the father of all of those babies. And he's just spring cleaning and opens a box and finds a dead baby. Now, how anybody didn't smell this is something that is not mentioned. And they were able to perform autopsies on all of them. So it doesn't seem like... I mean, you would think that they couldn't be too far decayed to be able to perform a full autopsy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know those details. But I wonder why nobody could smell anything in that garage, even when the DEA was there.
Maybe when, like, if she didn't clean them off, like directly out of her body, still covered in.
Well, I guess she gave birth to them in a bathtub. I don't know if it had water in the bath.
So I'm wondering if there's like something in that amniotic fluid that may have preserved if she didn't clean them off, or I don't know.
I don't know. I thought that was so interesting.
Like in a garage, you could explain the scent of death away, especially because it wouldn't be all the time that you would smell it. And being in a garage, a cat could have gotten that. You could explain it away.
True, but I just can't imagine having 7 boxes of deceased babies sitting in your garage and go on living as if nothing has happened. It's insane. And
wasn't there a huge red flag when she was having kids and not telling anybody she was pregnant? I mean, even the ones that she didn't hurt, she still was hiding.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she just like never left the house. So maybe, nobody really seen her. I think I heard somebody say that like one of the neighbors maybe was suspicious, but they never actually seen a baby, so they just assumed that she wasn't, or that she lost it or whatever. I don't know. This case really blew my mind.
And maybe, Mormons are kind of, they don't.
And I don't know if she followed that as an adult.
I mean, you see examples of like Mormon TV and stuff like that with like the novelty of the polygamy stuff, but pretty much people that are of the Mormon faith pretty much keep to themselves. Recruiting that goes on, but that happens in most religions. But they're kind of like, we're gonna do our thing, you do your thing. It's still a community. Like if she was a part of it, it seems weird that because it is a church situation.
I don't think she was like a practicing Mormon when this was happening.
Well, being a meth addict, probably.
Yeah, considering that she was doing all of that stuff.
I don't know, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand why she wouldn't just like use birth control or something. And I do still think that the meth probably had a lot to do with it, because once he was in jail, she stopped doing it, but she also stopped getting pregnant because, he wasn't there. So it's kind of hard to say if that really was why, because she wasn't... Well, I mean, she said she was pregnant with her other boyfriend's baby, but she said she lost it. So I don't know if she actually lost it or if, she got rid of it like she did the other ones.
They lost it in the backyard. Did anybody, search anything?
Clearly not. I don't understand at all.
You would think that if you find, 7 babies that have been put in boxes in a garage, that she no longer lives at that residence, that you would go search her current residence because she still has a working uterus.
I don't know how she could leave. Never mind doing the horrible thing that she did, but to just leave them in the garage and then not even live there? Like, did she think nobody would ever find them? I don't understand people. Like,
that's some serious disassociation if you can do that and then go on to making dinner or playing with your other
Yeah, she
children.
literally went back to life, cleaned up the mess like nothing happened. To where her children, I'm guessing, didn't question her. Her husband didn't question, what the hell was going on.
We're both married women. If you're in the bathroom too long,
Especially with kids, like somebody's gonna come in or
knock on the door. What are you doing? As a mom, you can't be away from family too long just because they come in and interrupt. I don't think I've had an uninterrupted shower since my son was born. So
my dog will sit outside the door and whine if I shut the door to go take a shower.
So how she's in there giving birth, and there's no set time limit on giving birth. It can be take 20 minutes or it can take 2 days.
I don't know what the size of their house was, I don't know any of that, but especially when they had company and for them to have no clue, like she just said she didn't feel good, she's gonna go take a bath and go to bed, probably said that, so nobody would come and check on her, but still, were they all sitting in the living room doing drugs? Possibly, but I don't know. And he swears he had no idea, other than the couple times that he had mentioned it to her, and then she said she lost him.
I think there's a whole lot of holes in that. Not every marriage is the same, obviously, and not everybody does the same things, but after you're married a while, personal space drops. I'm sure your husband does this if you're taking a shower.
Yeah, if they need the bathroom, they just walk in. If I have it locked, they unlock it.
Get a Q-tip, whatever, use the bathroom, especially if you only have one bathroom. And for your husband never to see you without your clothes on, to not notice that you're pregnant. Obviously, if she's pregnant all the time, he's seeing her naked.
Right? Obviously something's going on.
I think he's not telling the complete truth there, because that doesn't make any sense to me. He wouldn't know.
But if he was so doped out, maybe that's the only reason why. I don't know what that drug does to you, but I hear it messes with your brain. Obviously, yeah.
That's not
also because she was taking care of 3 other children. That seems like that alone would make you feel guiltier. At least have some type of feeling, and obviously she did not, because she did it just like that.
Imagine how her 3 living children feel.
I can't not imagine.
To know that your mother was most definitely capable of you not existing. That there was just some set of circumstance where she couldn't do it.
And the most recent baby, the one that she kept only because she couldn't hide that pregnancy. Hopefully nobody ever told that to that girl. Because I can't imagine what that would do, but...
That's the problem, though. I don't understand either one of the mothers that we've talked about. They definitely don't deserve that title.
And then just the reasoning why, because she doesn't think that she could be a good mother from the meth. But you have 3 other children that you need to take care of. I don't understand how you can use that as an excuse. Plus, knowing that you could take the baby and take it to the hospital. Because if she could make it so nobody even knew she was pregnant, nobody would even know it was happening.
Was she not going to the gynecologist at all?
Clearly she's not.
No medical care whatsoever.
I'm assuming no. And it was said that the babies seemed to be healthy too, other than until she got a hold of them.
Which is baffling because she was a meth addict this whole time.
Yes, and I also forgot to mention, she did not stop doing meth during pregnancy, from what I seen. Allegedly, just in case, that's not true. But from what I seen, she was still using while she was pregnant with all the babies. Well, maybe that's why she could hide it. Maybe she had a smaller bump because of it. But it was said that they were like, I don't know if it was the deceased babies or the other babies that she kept that were like 6 pounds, around that size when they were born. So not too small. I mean, 6 pounds is pretty good. I mean, my daughter was 6 pounds and I was huge.
And Miles was 5'11". That's another thing. Even if she was super tiny and didn't have a big bump, babies move. Even me being a bigger girl, you could feel my son move just by touching my belly. So you're telling me that her laying next to her husband didn't feel something move? Especially if these are full-term babies.
And they all seem to be, especially because the ones that she gave birth to, like the first one, she didn't even, she told her husband right before she had the child. Like, could you imagine? Well, actually, no, what's worse is the second one where she didn't mention it until after. You come out, oh, hey, look, I just had a baby. What? Like, what the hell you mean you just had a baby?
With no preparation. What was she doing with these children after she had them? She wasn't buying cribs and having baby showers. I mean, did she just have diapers laying around? I guess if you never intend on it coming out of that bathroom.
I think that's what it was she never intended on, like, she knew what she was going to do.
Mental illness could allow you to actually you're pregnant for 9 months knowing what you're going to do. Kind of horrifying what human beings are capable of doing to other people.
It really is.
I don't think I've read any paranormal story, any paranormal experience, any demonic encounter that's ever scared me as bad as a true crime. Because that really happened.
Yeah, people are way scarier. I don't know. Me being a mom, I just can't imagine. Even, with depression and stuff like that. That's like another level. Again, because it's not, she didn't just snap. I think it would have been more believable to say that could have a lot to do with it if she had just snapped and it was a one-time thing. But it was repeatedly.
Both of the women that we've talked about, there seems to be a couple similarities. For one is drug use. They both were meth addicts. Or it was pathological. Ruth was systematically abusing her children. She didn't actually end up killing her child, but most definitely what she did led up to her child's death, and she would have eventually caused at least one of these children. She knew what she was doing. Just like this Megan one. She knew what she was doing. She was planning it out.
And she knew it was wrong, which is why she hid the bodies. And yet she still kept doing it. And not only that, she's kept allowing herself to become pregnant over and over, knowing that she does not want any more children.
She wasn't even giving her husband any kind of choice.
Nope, she just took them all from him. Well, all but the 3.
And even though they were meth addicts, the other 3 kids still were taken care of.
It seems that the other children were taken care of. I didn't see anything about them, like, not being. So I'm not really sure how, she did all that, but...
That's what makes her terrifying, is that she's capable of completely no remorse and no problem ending an innocent life. But she took care of other people's children. She still had 3 children that she cared for. Like, that's some extreme...
Yeah. I think she was a babysitter, like, before any of this happened, but still, Well, I mean, I don't think she was on, well, actually, I don't know. I'm not sure, like, if she was on meth at that time. I would guess probably not, because I think she did that, like, right after they got married was when she did the babysitting. But still, and she ended up not having any kind of complications, no infections or anything. Like, she just gave birth and cleaned herself up like nothing happened. I don't know. It's sad. But did the babies, like, not cry? Like, how did nobody hear it?
Well, babies only cry if you make them. They don't come out instantly screaming. That's why.
And I know I think it said that she gave birth to them in the tub, but I don't know if the tub had water in it.
Well, if she had to hold her hand over the baby's mouth and noses. Probably.
Yeah, she didn't drown them, so she just suffocated them. So
maybe
she didn't have water.
Probably no water in the tub, otherwise she would more than likely utilize that. I can't understand purposely hurting your children. I mean, as a parent, that's your job, is to protect them, to care for them, but to purposely make their lives hard.
I don't understand either. Well, I mean, that's because apparently we think normally. I
don't even think that there's anybody that's gonna disagree with that. It really is an inconceivable idea for a mother.
Your sole purpose as a mother is to keep your children alive and safe and well. Protect them, not be the person that they need protection from.
You're biologically designed to be the protector of that child. You house that life until it comes into this world. Your entire existence while you're pregnant goes towards that baby. And in some mothers, is there some hormone that doesn't get activated or does get activated?
I wonder if that could have anything to do with it. Because unfortunately, there are way too many of these cases where mothers are doing things to harm their own children. And it's like, if you don't want them, do you know how many people would love to be able to take care of a child and they can't have their own? Even people that have their own would be like, okay, well, if you really don't want to and you're going to hurt it, I'll take it, Like, there's so many other choices that she could have made.
I think that's why I can't even wrap my head around it, is I do know what that feels like to not think that you're going to be alone. And then there's people out there that can have all the children in the world and don't
take care of them.
Or don't respect that ability, because not everybody can.
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell to get notified every time we upload.
If you truly believe that a child is being abused, don't sit back and just watch it, or God forbid, don't record it on your phone. Call your local Department of Human Services building, make a report, make sure those children are safe.
And until next time, everybody, bye.
Bye.